You guys are not going to believe this. It's going to surprise you. I promise. An elected sheriff in Oklahoma has publicly acknowledged that he believes that when cops are pulled over by other cops, they should be immediately released upon identifying themselves as law enforcement. And this is National Police Week, so it's a perfect time for this philosophy to be unveiled. Let's talk about Canadian County, Oklahoma Sheriff Chris West. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. Now, I know you're going to be totally suspicious of the intro to this video. You're not going to believe that a sheriff would do this, that he would think this way, that he would think that like a different set of rules or a double standard attached to a police officer being stopped for the same traffic offense that would land me or you in handcuffs potentially or get a ticket for sure. But just to sort of prove myself, because I don't want you to think that I'm just making stuff up, let me take you out to Fox 25 News in Oklahoma and let's watch this body cam interaction between a Oklahoma City police officer on a motorcycle traffic detail and Sheriff Chris West.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great.
What's up, man?
You're the sheriff, aren't you?
Hey.
You're Tom, or not? It's Brown.
Chris West.
Chris West. Chris West. Yeah. So my intent was just to write you a warning. Can I go back and write you a warning?
Do you need to? I'd rather not be anything documented.
Nothing documented. Is it election year?
Go get your piece of paper.
Okay. So that's fine. I'll bear it with you. Got you at 58. Like I said, it was my intent was just to write you a warning from the start.
Well, here's my deal. You know, I'm a retired trooper.
Yeah.
I never did that.
Yeah.
When I stopped cops, as soon as I found that, it was like, I really just didn't understand it. I talked to Gordon before he retired because I had to come up with that. And I think it's just ridiculous. My deal was my guys can be prepared to do something else. And so I think that's a requirement of professional courtesy. It's not just about
Well, you could just not speed.
this is a county vehicle, and I'm working no different than you going somewhere else. So listen, Stanley, I'm not going to call, retrieve, or complain. I'm just saying, from my perspective of another agency, not just the sheriff, I've been a trooper. That's not. I don't think that's really the rest of it.
Well,
You're on a professional courtesy.
well, just as professional and courtesy, you know, as you're talking about being, you're as big of a jerk as I've heard you are. So have a better day.
West. All right. He's talking about professional courtesy in the video. What he's basically saying is that he expects any police officer to turn the other way when they see him and his deputies or anybody else who is cloaked in the sort of protective armor of the police uniform. His ego and more specifically his sense of entitlement to special treatment was on full display and disgusting. And I have to say, that I was actually glad that at the end of this interaction, the Oklahoma City police officer kind of gave it back to him a little bit. Remember, we had a similar incident a few months back. I'll go ahead and pop up a picture of the thumbnail here on the screen because I did a video about it, about this drunken Massachusetts sheriff who crashed a county car at a casino and expected the Massachusetts State Police to kind of turn their head and let him get by with it. Thankfully, they didn't do that. They did the right thing and they arrested him for DUI. Now, I would still argue that he got a pretty sweetheart deal, but I don't know how Massachusetts DUIs generally work. I know in Tennessee you would never get that deal unless you had some sort of special treatment or the case was bad. But the case wasn't bad. It was on video. He admitted to driving. He was obviously inebriated, but that's not really the point. The point is he asked for and did in some ways receive some special treatment in that he was treated with kid gloves, even though he was ultimately arrested. But again, at least the investigating officers did do the right thing and arrest him and charge him with DUI. I even saw a body cam this week that was released of disgraced Kentucky Sheriff Mickey Steins getting pretty kind and favorable treatment by the state police and being asked which officers he wanted to transport him to the jail after he literally shot and killed a judge in his chambers. And the investigating troopers were promising to protect him and letting him choose who he wanted to be transferred by. It was pretty disgusting, to be honest with you. This guy just killed somebody, shot him in cold blood on video in the chambers.
We ain't gonna do anything to you.
Yeah, I'm not going back one of them rooms now.
We ain't. We'll talk right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, be fair to me now.
We're gonna be fair.
I seen the look.
From who?
Jackie, y'all, come on now. Don't
No,
kill me.
no, worry about that.
This is let's be fair.
Nobody's gonna lay a finger on you. I promise that.
Don't shoot me.
I know.
Nothing like that.
I don't know you nothing like these guys do, Mickey. But
Come on.
unfortunately, they've told me this is my case. But I guarantee you, nobody within the state police has any ill intentions, or nobody's gonna lay a finger on you. Why would we?
There he is.
Just tell be fair with me. Mickey, you know we'll be. You know where we'll be. You know where. I've worked with you for how long now? You know how I've worked. You know how I've operated. I've always been fair with anybody. They say he's transport. Yeah. So who's waiting on us at the Leslie County Jail or?
Nobody.
Yeah. Just be fair to me, man. Give me a trial. You know. Give me a trial. Well, you know we're gonna be fair to you. You've known us for. Yeah, man. Box, just be fair to me, though, man. Give me a try.
I told him I'll ride with you too to make sure nothing.
Yeah, he can ride with.
Yeah.
He can ride with me. That makes you feel better. I mean, I understand why everybody come in huffy and puffy, but there was several of them.
Well,
It's a dangerous time.
emotions are high when things happen like that. They don't know if you would still want to be aggressive towards them.
I was already cuffed, man, sat down, and
Okay. I know.
patted me down and stuff.
Well, I've not been aggressive with you any. Clayton has not. I know Bates has not. So you're okay. I promise you. Okay, you're okay.
Mickey, it's our job now to protect you. I mean, you're in our custody.
Yeah.
We're gonna do our best to make sure nothing happens to you, and we sure ain't gonna do that to you.
Mickey, come on now. You know we will, but you know we will. I got 5 grandkids.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But you know we will be. You know I've not been unfair to anybody I've dealt with. Not with me.
Yeah.
And we've been together a long time.
Yeah.
But even after I get there and stuff, just.
We're gonna make sure you're all right. Don't worry. We ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. I promise you that. Nothing. I'll go with him, and nobody's gonna intersect with us or anything.
No, I promise you, I'll drive you the whole way. I'll drive you the whole way.
Why do you think we would do something to you, Mickey? I'm just curious.
We'll be down there a little bit, Bates. He just want to talk to you for a second. So,
Be down where.
Sallyport.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is not new, but it is serious. And I know that you guys don't care about traffic offenses other than the fact that you or I know that we would be getting a ticket. There's zero chance that any of us would be getting this sort of special treatment if we were pulled over by an OKC officer. Now, to the OKC officer's credit, he initially told the sheriff that he wanted to write a warning from the beginning, and it's possible that he would have given a warning to us because that's what it sounds like he was going to do. But I have a hard time believing that this would have gone as quickly or as smoothly. The entire video is 5 minutes long, and 3 of the minutes were basically him running the information and writing out the warning. But it's pretty telling that the sheriff didn't want anything documented. Well, maybe that's because he's already documented as being part of the January 6th protest, or maybe that's because he's already got some other stuff that's documented that I just don't know about. But the point is, there's a double standard. And it's obvious, and his comments made it obvious that he believes that's the way it should be. The truth is that we'd be laughed off the side of the roadway if any of us demanded or even acted like we were entitled to such special treatment. So it does sort of create this dynamic where it's like pretty obvious that the public would not be treated the same way. But the second issue that is really the more major issue is that this guy is the head of an agency. He's the leader. He's the person who decides whether his guys conducted themselves within policy when they used force against someone or they shot and killed someone in an officer-involved shooting. He's the guy who decides who's going to work internal affairs. So it's not just guys coming up through the ranks and they just draw short straws and end up in internal affairs. No, he appoints people to work in internal affairs. Do we have confidence that he's going to appoint the right people that will be objective and will actually do investigations? And we wonder why people were like, oh yeah, we investigated ourselves and we found no wrongdoing. So just for funsies and just to sort of illustrate my point, I asked the ChatGPT, which now thinks like I do because I use it quite a bit, to find a copy of the Canadian County Policy and Procedure Manual for Canadian county employees, which Sheriff West is. He's an elected official, but he's still a county employee. And I thought it might be fun just to go ask ChatGPT to consider the statements that the sheriff made during the traffic stop and his stated, obvious worldview that includes being able to basically get away with whatever he wants to. And I asked it to compare it to the Policy and Procedure Manual and see whether there are any specific violations of the Policy and Procedure Manual that we could come up with. And because it's never let me down before, I'll just share with you what we were able to come up with. Misuse of position to obtain favor or exert influence, that's section 2.12, conduct. And specifically, we have a quoted section here that says this not only involves sincere respect for the rights and feelings of others, but also demands that both in your business and personal life, you refrain from any behavior that might be harmful or that might be viewed unfavorably by the public at large. Weird. Types of behavior and conduct that Canadian County considers inappropriate include soliciting or accepting gratuities, deliberate or willful misrepresentation of county policy, failure to maintain satisfactory and or harmonious relationships with the public. And the application is requesting professional courtesy during a lawful traffic stop is a solicitation for preferential treatment that constitutes a gratuity request, misuse of office, and violates the expectation of off-duty or on-duty conduct that reflects well on the county. Number 2, attempted solicitation or influence for personal benefit. Employees are prohibited from engaging in solicitation to other county employees or the public during the work time of either the employee doing the solicitation or the employee being solicited. Examples include encouraging participation in or support for political campaigns, fundraisers, or sales of any product. Here's the application. Asking another law enforcement officer on duty to disregard a citation based on shared status as one of them is a solicitation for personal benefit. Even if you frame this informally, this conduct seeks a favor grounded in public employment, violating this section. Number 3, abuse of authority, conflicts with investigative oversight duties. Section 2.12, conduct, and Section 2.34, workplace-related misconduct. Employees are expected to refrain from any behavior that might be viewed unfavorably by the public at large. Here's the application. If Sheriff West believes or promotes that law enforcement officers should be exempt from traffic laws once they identify themselves, he is promoting a policy of non-enforcement that is not codified in law, and it's in direct conflict with equal treatment principles. And it creates a chilling effect on subordinates investigating misconduct. This is especially problematic because he is the chief disciplinary authority over the agency that is supposed to enforce these standards. Compounding factor. Conflict of interest in investigations, as Sheriff West is both the policy enforcement authority and the subject of potential internal review if his actions influenced how other deputies treat similar stops. This is a direct conflict of interest, and Canadian County has no listed safeguard or independent oversight protocol in the handbook for when the top law enforcement officer is himself the ethical or policy violator. All right, so there you have it. Has your confidence been renewed in Sheriff West? In closing, it's no wonder that the public confidence in the institution of law enforcement has been continually eroded almost beyond recognition. The public trusted this guy and they elected this guy. They pay him what I would probably call a modest salary of just below $85,000 a year, but it's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I don't know that I'd do the job of a sheriff for $85,000 a year, but hey, if I could run around and do whatever I wanted in a county vehicle that they pay for, maybe it might be a pretty good gig. Who knows what else he's doing to get paid? The public pays for the that he thinks he can use for personal gain and to speed up and down the highways in. They pay for the insurance premiums that will surely increase every time the city has to pay out of pocket for a lawsuit when he looks the other way and he incorporates his stated policy of rules for thee, but not for me. And he covers for his deputies' unlawful actions because they happen to be part of the just us system. The public will also pay for the parts of the lawsuits that the insurance company won't cover because they're beyond the scope of the coverage, or they were intentional acts by his officers, or maybe the lawsuit amount would be small enough that it could be paid for and it would be less than the deductible, so the county just pays it out of pocket. I don't know, you guys. Do you have confidence in his leadership? I just can't imagine why anyone would be distrusting of law enforcement in 2025 when we have leaders like this carrying us into the next generation of civil rights violations. It sounds to me like Sheriff West needs to toddle off into retirement where he can do whatever he wants. Now, I know there are going to be some of you guys out there that are like, you know what? He should have written him a ticket. But here's why I don't feel that way. Because the next time that I'm stopped or you're stopped or somebody else who might watch this channel is stopped and they decide to push back against the officer, give them a little bit of a hard time, and exercise their First Amendment right to dole out a little bit of criticism to the police, I don't want retaliation for that behavior. I want the police officer to understand that this person has a right to free speech. And so, because I'm not okay with him doing it to us and him doing it to you or doing it to somebody else, I don't want him to do it to the sheriff because the principle is the same. And if you abandon principles based on who we're talking about, you're no different than what Sheriff West expects of this OKC police officer, and neither am I. And so for that reason, I think we have to tolerate the fact that this officer maintained his composure and wrote a warning instead of issuing a citation, even though that might have been satisfying for us to watch. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. I hope you got something from the video. I just wanted to put it on your radar. I'd like to invite you over to the Substack community. It's absolutely free to join. You can join on a paid tier if you'd like to, but you don't have to do that. That's only for people who want to support the channel monetarily. There'll be a link to Substack in the description of this video. If you don't want to join Substack or you don't want to follow me to another platform, but you'd like to support the Southern Draw Law channel monetarily, I'll leave my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.